Cost.
Yeah, they're going north towards the South Padre Island area. It looks like along the beach there to see if there's anybody, because there may have been a range violation while they were ready to do this hop. It's another range violation. I hope not. Um, so yeah, there's things are rapidly been moving around today. Hop, no hop. We don't know what exactly is the current state of things, except that it looks like the vehicle is slowly been detanking as far as the fuel. You don't see much of that, but it does go through a rapid refill process. It takes 45 minutes to an hour to get to that point. So we do have a lot of questions still to go through and answer, but definitely for everybody out there, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you have a question, type at question. And if you want the question answered sooner, go ahead and use the basically the donation or the super chat function that helps bring those things up to our attention much quicker because there are definitely thousands of people watching still trying to understand are we go for a hop today? Are we going to see one just happen in the next 45 minutes to an hour here? That's hard to say, but it's still worth watching at this point and finding out. Um, George Fleming asked about what we saw earlier today, where there was a lot of work on Pad A. What do you think they were doing on that particular pad?
Probably prepping it for SN10 because they anticipate S or the Pad B getting destroyed or needing refurbishment after this flight. So it makes sense that they would already be getting S or Pad A ready for SN10 whenever it does get rolled out. Be that tomorrow, the day after, next week, so on and so forth.
Okay. Um, the next question we have from Evan Zerbert asks, do the residents have to actually leave their homes all day? Are they compensated for that? Do we know what the situation is there?
Um, so when it comes to a flight like this, back during like SN4, SN5, and SN6, they were not required to like leave their physical homes. They had to go outside when the flight was happening and so on, but they weren't required to actually like leave with some of their belongings. What's happened with SN8 now SN9 is that the entire village gets evacuated. Most of the build site gets evacuated, except for a few people at Stargate, I believe. And they get the actual residents of the village, from what I understand. SpaceX pays for a room at a hotel on South Padre Island for them to stay at for 2, 3, 4 nights, as long as they need. So that the residents obviously aren't just left out in the cold or forced to pay out of their pockets, since it is technically SpaceX that's forcing them out of town. They're not leaving on their own accord.
So
Yeah,
I did. Oh, go ahead, Dinks.
oh sorry, if I remember correctly, uh, uh, been rooms in the Pearl time for a couple nights for SN8. Yeah, that's the first time they had to fully leave the village for any testing that would have happened.
That was kind of an interesting experience. I think our friend Grandpa Joe he talked about running into the residents there and talking to them a little bit about what he had seen and heard, and it was interesting that they're just kind of in awe of the whole thing. That who would want to launch a rocket in this tiny town in South Texas? It's just kind of mind blowing to think about, especially when you're from a setting that you know all your neighbors by name. Modern day cities and areas that are suburban areas, it's hard to remember who the neighbors' names are just down the street. In Boca Chica, you know everybody. It's a very tight knit community, and so I kind of thought of it like as they must be kind of in a pajama party of sorts. All the neighbors are coming in to hang out and go, well, this is unusual. Yeah. Oh, this is a good name. From Hello There. They asks, what time would be a good time in GMT for the hop? Cheers from England.
Oh, Greenwich Mean Time. Oh, we have too many Brits on this stream. Need more Americans. I'm obviously joking. We love everyone from all over the earth that comes to support this. But looking at like a time for a hop, obviously like that isn't possible to say exactly when it's going to happen. Like I can't just say it's going to happen at 16:48 or something like that. But it would happen in the next 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's what we found to be the easiest way to, I guess, say things, is just to give a countdown time, not a time in every single time zone. We usually just give the time out in Central Standard Time, or we just say like 2 hours till we expect it to happen, or we expect this event to happen. So as everything's winded down, this would mean that it would probably take about an hour for them to start the recondenser, get everything going again, and then try for a launch. So I guess for now, I would just say T minus 1 hour. Whenever you would see the next activity start, I would say about 1 hour until you would have a static fire, wet dress rehearsal, abort, or a flight.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some word from Elon at some point today explaining, giving us a rough time as to what might happen. I mean, he's often pretty vocal about testing, but he's obviously pretty busy today trying to get the issues with the FAA figured out, so he might not have time.
The funny thing is that he's been like tweeting about the whole stock market scandal kind of thing that happened. It's not really a scandal, but a lot of people are up in arms about it. But it seems like he's more focused on that when he's tweeting than he is the testing going on down in Boca Chica. He did tweet earlier about how the FAA's rule sets and regulations aren't really set up for rapid like launching of commercial space vehicles. That it's more oriented towards like when it was really just government entities launching rockets, the Air Force, Navy, so on and so forth.
It's interesting what he's been saying about uh, GameStop. I've got I put $100 into that a few weeks ago, but yeah, it's been a very interesting journey, although it's not directly about Starship, so
All right. The next question we had here was from Fred Jones. He asked, "Did SN9 get the quick mount technology Elon tweeted about to get the engine changes in under 2 hours?"
I'm actually
the
unsure about that. I do not actually recall that tweet. If it was brought back up, I would probably be able to make a more educated comment on it. But I do not remember hearing about that.
Um,
yeah, I wasn't timing those. It's kind of hard to judge exactly how long them because uh all the removal of the first Raptor happened during the day. The installation of both, it was in the kind of in the middle of the night, so it was kind of hard to time it and figure out how long it took them. Although we do just have a oxygen tank venting happening now, so just releasing a bit of built-up pressure.
yeah, I do see that it's that LOX tank is venting. You can hear it on I'm sorry, pad cam. It's just super loud. You have to have the audio down to about 10%, otherwise you'll jump out of your seat when things like that happen.
Is the sound working now? I know we're having issues with that for a little bit, but it's good that that's back now. Also looks like a much smaller amount of venting from the methane tank as well, so might be looking at a detank or a depress here possibly.
Yeah, double venting now on both tanks. So, yeah, that looks like they're still in the depressing process.
Well, in a way, that's good because it means that once they've fully detanked or depressed, it means they're ready to start up again from the beginning.
Well, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I just see the satellite dishes pointing up to the sky at the moment on Sentinel cam. That's cam
Oh, did
number
they?
6.
Oh, did they just move as well?
Yep. Actually, they're pointing in two different directions now, like
Yeah,
they're
that is
stretching.
interesting.
Ooh, what?
I
Well,
didn't
that's
realize
So
there.
weird.
yeah, that's cam 6. For those of you who want to just flip over to watch that replay a little
Oh, sorry,
bit,
cam
very
5, not
unusual.
6.
Oh, cam 5, sorry. Cam 6 is the pad cam, my favorite.
So it looks like one dish is pointing towards the build site, and more specifically, probably the Stargate thing, which is where they control Starship and do all the testing controls from. The other dish, I have no clue what that could be pointing at.
That's not a normal configuration for Starlink at this
No,
point. I mean, they're looking at the horizon on both sides, and it's just maybe calibrating, but
yeah, could
that
be.
is
It
very
it
unusual.
doesn't make any sense for the dish to be pointing straight at Stargate building because they've already got all data and communication lines running from Stargate to the dishes. So pointing it at Stargate doesn't really make any sense. So, it's just a weird movement. I wonder where they'll move to next.
Yeah, it's looking more and more unlikely, or what have you, that we will see a flight today. There is the TFR still available for tomorrow. If they do not end up flying today, they still have that, and hopefully in this afternoon, they've been able to figure out issues with SN8. They just can't push along the paperwork quick enough to initiate a TFR or what have you.
Well, that's what I'm slightly not concerned, but questionable about, because if there's a problem with, because there must have been a reasonably significant problem for them to cancel today's TFR when they were preparing to fly earlier this morning. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden that would be magically fixed and ready to go tomorrow, because I would imagine the problem still exists. They might be able to figure a way around it, but whatever the cause for the TFR to be cancelled, it's not all of a sudden fixed, and now they're Friday instead of Thursday. So I'm not sure if we don't fly today, it's going to be interesting to see if the TFR is still up by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, this is a very bizarre process that we're seeing here between the FAA and SpaceX, where they have it, they don't have it, they have it, they don't have it, and yeah, that's just backwards. We were expecting that this whole process would be done weeks ago. Um, Not down to the last minute, down to the wire. In fact, past the wire in some respects. Um, so I really would wish to see this occur as soon as possible because there is so much backed up. So in order to you know get things running on their production side of the facility, they need to get SN10.
All right, it looks like it's a wrap for today. Mary Boca Chica Gal just tweeted saying, I've been notified that I can return home to Boca Chica Village. Starship SN9 didn't fly today, and hashtag WinHop continues. So if she's
Yeah,
heading back to her home, that
Wah,
means that
wah.
they're done for today.
Hey,
yeah.
Lab. So
The
yeah,
dishes have
that
just
everything looks like it's being canceled yet again.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's just a lot of sit and wait and hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
yeah, the dishes have just returned to their upright position as well.
The one thing I will
Try
say
again
about
tomorrow.
the old school guys is that they've got so much time on their hands when they've gone through and have asked for these like static fires or other events that by the time that they're done, they know the exact second that it's going to happen. I got to watch some static fires up in Utah because of that. It was like months in advance scheduled, and I was just like, that's unusual. But seeing a rocket launch from South Texas is even more unusual and more amazing than anything else. So I'm just glad to be here and watching these events unfold as they may. Even if we don't get a hop, we can hop tomorrow. So, Lab, you still there?
I'm here.
So, are you thinking we're gonna get another chance for tomorrow, or do you think whatever's going on behind the scenes is gonna continue into tomorrow as well?
I'm sure that FAA behind the scenes stuff is going to be going on for some time, and like I said, I'm going to order me up some barbecue crow. I don't think we're going to be doing anything this week.
All right, I'm eating triple crow. It looks like.
This is why I don't place a whole lot of what's the word? Anticipatory bets or what have you. I try to be incredibly conservative when it comes to what I bet on and what I think is going to happen. And it seems like that very well happened again today, where most people would have guessed for a hop today or I guess tomorrow, and it's not looking necessarily good for that.
No, not at all. Oh man,
Yeah.
my
So
phone is
at
blowing
this
up
point,
right
I
now
think
with
we could.
messages.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we can confirm that it's officially not happening again this for the second time today. So the first time was early this morning when we were all ready to go for it, and then things started sputtering to no, and then they started closing the road, and that was bizarre. But we were maybe hoping for something else to happen as well. But we did get to see some venting at the fuel farm. The vehicle's venting; it was ready to go, but something is going on here or behind the scenes that is slowing us down here.
Yeah, all we can wait for is Elon to give some more information. See what he says.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of stuff going on your end here as well. I think, is there anything else we want to talk about before we wrap things up again?
Well,
no.
it was rather. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's rather unfortunate timing now that we just got word from Mary that we're not going to be flying it today, but it appears that Raw Space, they've got their issues fixed out and they're back with us now.
Thank you for that. My issues have not been fixed, but at least I'm good on Discord, so.
Yeah, I think, and so far the sounds that we're hearing so far, I don't think they're coming from you. I think they're coming from Lab. He's in a really weird area, and signal's not so great.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a group of people behind me also.
I heard somebody like, we should take a photo.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess this is the time that Lab needs to run over and get a photo with everybody. But yeah, thank you for coming back and joining us again here, Ra. So I think we left you with a question. What do you think of the events that have been unfolding here today in another way that's it's changed again?
Well, I think it's quite well balanced. I mean, Boca Chica is a hot mess, and my my streaming software is a hot mess too. So it all works out.
Yeah, it seems to be that way today. Everything's just kind of like
GameStop's a hot mess.
yes. Everything's kind of gone a little sideways on some things on the communications and the Starship and what's going on with SpaceX and the FAA.
So at this point, the sequence of events with the TFRs, like what exactly was going on is just pure speculation. Nobody knows for sure.
Only I think Elon knows for sure of what's going on here, and even he probably doesn't even know. This is kind of an interesting situation.
I wonder if he blows off steam, not to make a venting analogy, but I wonder if he blows off steam with his not a flamethrower. I would.
Grabs like an FAA rule book and gets the not a flamethrower out and be like, well, here's your rules. This is been quite an event of just going back and forth. I actually wanted to ask you a bit more on the Apollo side of things while we still have you, and now that you're back. So you've gone through and done a lot of stuff in the Apollo era. What's your your favorite moment or favorite stuff as far as Apollo goes?
Well, I mean, the most prominent moment, of course, is the first steps. But I'd have to say my favorite moment from the Apollo era would be either it may be a tie between the dropping of the hammer and the feather, which was a beautiful demonstration of a scientific principle, um, or perhaps the driving the rover around, because that's just a lot of fun.
Which scientific principle? The doom buggy principle,
No,
or the the hammer, or the
yeah, the
feather
dropping of the
principle? That
hammer and the feather in a vacuum, without the air resistance. They fall at the same rate.
Oh, there's a science to doom buggies, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Especially on the moon. Oh yeah, that was amazing footage to watch. Every time I've seen it, just gives me chills. And it's like we're here again in a ways. We're coming back to those days where people can be on the moon within the decade.
Theoretically, unfortunately, the way the reality of today's world, um, it's vastly more expensive and complicated to get things done. I mean, that's why, like, look at the infrastructure in the United States. We haven't had any big, bridges or dams or anything built in like decades, because what used to cost, a few $1 million now costs billions and billions and takes 20 years or whatever. And the same holds true for the space industry. It's just incredibly expensive to, especially for government, to get anything done. Now SpaceX is obviously on a different track than that, and their rapid iteration development process is proving to be incredibly productive. They're able to make headway
Mm-hmm.
where others are still stuck in red tape. But and it's been very exciting to see that, especially over the past 20 years or so. There's been a variety of private space endeavors, but none of which have really gone anywhere except for SpaceX is the real standout.
Yeah, I mean, one kind of example you were talking about how there's just a complicated mess today with what's going on, as complicated a mess as it is. Uh, things do slow down. We're seeing that today. Whatever issues they're having slows them down to the point that they are going either tomorrow or some later time. I'm hoping sooner than later, but I've got a pessimistic view at heart. But I'm like, oh, I kind of have to stop following my gut on those things because SpaceX keeps surprising me on a lot of things. So it is nice to see that they are getting somewhere a little bit quicker than everybody else, but still it is still slow. It takes days and months of work just to get this far.
Yeah, I'm hopeful by nature, but I'm also very pragmatic,
Mm-hmm.
and so I see the bright future that may be ahead of us, but I also see the sort of reality of the speed bumps that are in our way, and I think that it will take us a lot longer to move forward than we would like. Like getting to Mars, it may not happen within the next uh, 20 years. It may not happen within the next 50 years. It all depends on, um, what private industry is able to do and what legislation is able to be passed. Um, it's, it's not easy. It takes a gargantuan effort. And that is not something that's sort of easily leveraged like it was back in the mid-century, where you could throw a large portion of your uh, GDP, your national GDP, at a problem and tackle it.
Mm-hmm. I even SpaceX, they Elon has stated around $5 billion for the price of what they're doing so far up to this point. I believe most of that's going to be in Raptor development because that's the most complex part of this whole thing. It's a very simple tank design, but the Raptors are very complex. I barely understand them as it is. And then he did state, I think this was back when it was BFR, that the program would cost around $10 billion. They're well onto that way, so it's not cheap for with what they're doing. Even with the iterative process, they're getting a lot further than a lot of people would even give them credit for. But it's expensive.
I think that this whole I was going to say GameSpy. That's not the right one. I think this whole GameStop thing is a ruse to rake in profits to fund